Good morning. What's up, family and friends and YouTube viewers? If you don't know my channel, it is the Osborne Way. I actually fixed it so you can find me. I'm reading today is I'm finishing up lesson 2, and I hope you guys have it all planned out for your Friday for the weekend. Oh, yesterday was it was hot. It still is hot today. But please let me know where you're tuning in. I hope you're having a good evening, good night, good afternoon, wherever you are. And if you don't know who I am, I'm Melissa Eloise Osborne, coming from Marathon, New York. I'm a network marketer, entrepreneur. I help people build their business using their phone and coaching. And hi, Martin. Hi, Ben. How you doing, guys? And let me know where you guys are tuning in from. Okay. It is, but before I get reading on, I'm going to say this verse every day. Why is that? Because repeat, repeat, repeat. Because you want to be the best version of yourself. So in order to do that, you have to repeat, and it recommends it. I know a lot of people say, oh, you know, but when you read a book and you take it in, implement it. I believe in myself. I believe in those who work with me. I believe in my employer. I believe in my friends. I believe in my family. I believe that God will lend me everything I need with which to succeed if I do my best to earn it through faithful and honest service. I believe in prayer, and I will never close my eyes in sleep without praying for divine guidance to the end that I will be patient with other people and tolerant with those who do not believe as I do. I believe that success is a result of an intellect effort that does not depend upon luck or sharp practices, or double crossing friends, fellow men, or my employer. I believe I will get out of life exactly what I put into it. Therefore, I will be careful to conduct myself toward others as I would want them to act toward me. I will not slander those whom I do not like. I will not slight my work no matter what I may see others doing. I will render the best service of which I am capable because I have pledged myself to succeed in life. And I know that success is always the result of conscience and efficient effort. Finally, I will forgive those who offend me because I realize that I will sometimes offend others and I will need their forgiveness. Signed by Melissa Eloise Osborne. Okay. It is not reasonable to expect that some statement, some ideal, or something stimulating word of this reading course on the law of success will serve as the needed stimulus that will reshape your destiny and redirect your thoughts and energies along a pathway that will lead you finally to your coveted goal of life. It is strange but true that the most important turning points of life often come at the most unexpected times and in the most unexpected ways. I have in mind a typical example of how some of the seemingly unimportant experiences of life often turn out to be the most important of all. And I'm relating this case because it shows also what a man can accomplish when he awakens to a full understanding of the value of self confidence. The incident to which I refer happened in the city of Chicago. While I was engaged in the work of character analyst, one day a tramp presented himself at my office and asked for an interview. As I looked up from my work and greeted him, he said, I have come to see the man who wrote this little book. As he removed from his pocket a copy of a book entitled Self Confidence, which I had written many years previously. It must have been the hand of fate, he continued, that slipped this book into my pocket yesterday afternoon because I was about ready to go out there and punch a hole in Lake Michigan. I had about come to the conclusion that everything and everybody, including God, had it in there until I read this book. And it gave me a new viewpoint and brought me the courage and hope that sustained me through the night. I made up my mind that if I could see the man who wrote this book, he could help me get on my feet again. Now I'm here, and I would like to know what you can do for a man like me. While he was speaking, I had been studying him from head to toe, and I'm afraid to admit that down deep in my heart, I did not believe there was anything I could do for him, but I did not wish to tell him so. The glassy stare in his eyes, the lines of discouragement in his face, the posture of his body, the 10 days growth of beard on his face, the nervous manner about this man all conveyed to me the impression that he was hopeless. But I did not have the heart to tell him so. Therefore, I asked him to sit down and tell me his whole story. I asked him to be perfectly frank and tell me, as nearly as possible, just what had brought him down to the ragged edge of life. I promised him that after I had heard his entire story, I would then tell him whether or not I could be of service to him. He related his story in lengthy detail, the sum and substance of which was this. He had invested his entire fortune in a small manufacture business. When the World War began in 1914, it was impossible for him to get the raw materials necessary in the operation of his factory, and he therefore failed. The loss of his money broke his heart and so disturbed his mind that he left his wife and children and became a tramp. He had actually brooked over his loss until he had reached the point at which he was contemplating suicide. After he had finished his story, I said to him, I have listened to you with a great deal of interest, and I wish that there was something which I could do to help you. But there is absolutely nothing. He became a pal, as he will be when he is laid away in a coffin, and settled back in his chair and dropped his chin on his chest as much as to say, that settles it. I waited for a few seconds and then said, well, while there is nothing that I can do for you, there is a man in this building to whom I will introduce you, if you wish, who can help you regain your lost fortune and put you back on your feet again. These words had barely fallen from my lips when he jumped up, grabbed me by the hands, and said, for God's sake, lead me to this man. It was encouraging to note that he had asked this. For God's sake, this indicated that there was still a spark of hope within his breast. So I took him by the arm and led him out into the laboratory where my psychological tests and character analysis were conducted, and stood with him in front of what looked to be a curtain over a door. I pulled the curtain aside and uncovered a tall-looking glass in which he saw himself from head to toe. Pointing my finger at the glass, I said, there stands the man to whom I promised to introduce you. There is only one man in the world who can put you back on your feet again. And unless you sit down and become acquainted with that man, as you never became acquainted with him before, you might just as well go on over and punch a hole in the Lake Michigan, because you will be of no value to yourself or to the world until you know this man better, which he's talking about himself. He stepped over to the glass, rubbed his hands over his bearded face, studied himself from head to toe for a few moments, then stepped back, dropped his head, and began to weep. I knew that lesson had been driven home, so I led him back. to the elevator and sent him away. I never expected to see him again, and I doubted that the lesson would be sufficient to help him regain his place in the world because he seemed to be too far gone for redemption. He seemed to be not only down, but almost out. A few days later, I met this man on the street. His transformation had been so complete that I hardly recognized him. He was walking briskly with his head tilted back. The old shifting, nervous posture of his body was gone. He was dressed in new clothes from head to foot. He looked prosperous, and he felt prosperous. He stopped me and related what had happened to bring about this rapid transformation from a station of abject failure to one of the hope and promise. I was just on my way to your office, he explained, to bring you the good news. I went out that very day that I was in your office, a down and out tramp, and in spite of my appearance, I sold myself at a salary of $3,000 a year. Think of it, man, $3,000 a year, and my employer advanced the money enough with which to buy some new clothes. As you can see for yourself, he also advanced me some money to send home to my family, and I am once more on the road to success. It seems like a dream when I think that only a few days ago I had lost hope and faith and courage and was actually contemplating suicide. I was coming to tell you that one of these days, when you are least expecting me, I will pay you another visit. And when I do, I will be a successful man. I will bring with me a check signed in blank and made payable to you. And you may fill in the amount because you have saved me from myself by introducing me to myself, that self which I never knew until you stood me in front of that looking glass and pointed out the real me. As the man turned and departed on the crowded streets of Chicago, I saw for the first time in my life what strength and power and possibility lie hidden in the mind of the man who has never discovered the value of self-confidence or reliance. Then and there I made up my mind that I too would stand in front of the same looking glass and point an accusing finger at myself for not having discovered the lesson that I had helped another to learn. I did stand before the same looking glass, and as I did so, then and there fixed in my mind as a definite purpose in life, the determination to help men and women discover the forces that lie sleeping within them. Your only limitations within reason is the one that you set up in your mind. Very true. The man whose story I have related is now the president of one of the largest and most successful concerns of its kind in America, with a business that extends from coast to coast and from Canada to Mexico. A short while after the incident just related, a woman came to my office for personal analysis. She was then a teacher in Chicago public school. I gave her an analyst chart and asked her to fill it out. She'd been at work on the chart but a few minutes when she came back to my desk, handing back the chart and said, I do not believe I will fill this out. I asked her why. She handed why she had decided not to fill out the chart. And she replied, to be perfectly frank with you, one of the questions in the chart put me to thinking, and I know what is wrong with me. Therefore, I feel it unnecessary to pay you a fee to analyze me. With that, the woman went away and did not hear from her. I did not hear from her again. Right. See, I hate that when I can't. I feel it unnecessary to pay a fee to analyze me. With that, the woman went away and I did not hear from her for 2 years. She went to New York City, became a writer of advertising copy for one of the largest agency in the country. And her income at the time, she wrote me a $10,000 a year. This woman sent me a check to cover the cost of my analyzing fee because she felt that the fee had been earned, even though I did not render her the service that I usually render my clients. It is impossible for anyone to foretell what seemingly insignificant incident may lead to an important turning point in one's career. But there is no denying the fact that these turning points may be more readily recognized by those who have well rounded out confidence in themselves. One of the irreparable losses to the human race lies in the lack of knowledge that there is a definite method through which self confidence can be developed in any person or average intelligence. What an immersible loss to civilization that young men and women are not taught this known method of developing self confidence before they complete their schooling, for no one who lacks faith in himself is really educated in the proper sense of the terms. Oh, what glory and satisfaction would be the happy heritage of the man or woman who could pull aside the curtain of fear that hangs over the human race and shuts out the sunlight of understanding that self confidence brings whatever it is in evidence. Where fear controls noteworthy achievement becomes an impossibility, a fact that brings to mind the definition of fear, as stated by a great philosopher. Fear is the dungeon of the mind into which it runs and hides and seeks seclusion. Fear brings on superstition, and superstition is the danger with which hypocrisy assassinates the soul. In front of the typewriter on which I am writing the manuscript for this reading course hangs a sign with the following wording in big letters. Day by day, in every way, I am becoming more successful. A skeptic who read that sign asked if I really believed that stuff. And I replied, of course not. All it ever did for me was to help me get out of the coal mines where I started as a laborer and find a place in the world in which I am serving upwards of 100,000 people on whose minds I'm planting that same positive thought that the sign brings out. Therefore, why should I believe in it? As the man started to leave, he said, well, perhaps there is something to this sort of philosophy after all, for I have always been afraid that I would be a failure, and so far my fears have been thoroughly realized. You're condemning yourself to poverty, misery, and failure, or you are driving yourself on toward the heights of great achievement solely by the thoughts you think. If you demand success of yourself and back up this demand with intelligent action, you are sure to win. Bear in mind, though, that there is difference between demanding success and just merely wishing for it. You should find out what is different is taking advantage of it. Do you remember what the Bible says? Somewhere in the book of Matthew about those who have faith as a grain of mustard seed, go at the task of developing self-confidence with at least that much faith, if not more. Never mind what they'll say, because you might as well know that they will be of little aid to you in your climb up the mountainside of life toward the object of your definite purpose. You have within you all of the power you need with which to get whatever you want or need in this world. And about the best way to avail yourself of this power is to believe in yourself. Know thyself, man. Know thyself. This has been the advice of the philosophers all back down the ages. When you really know yourself, you know that there is nothing foolish about hanging a sign in front of your or in front of you that reads like this. Day by day, in every way, I become more successful. With due apologies to the Frenchmen who made this motto popular, I am not afraid to place this sort of suggestion in front of my desk, and what is more to the point, I am not afraid to believe that it will influence me so that I'll become more positive and aggressive human being. More than 25 years ago, I learned my first lesson in self-confidence building. One night I was sitting before an open fireplace, listening to a conversation between some older man and a subject of capital and labor. Without invitation, I joined in the conversation and said something about the employers and employees settling their differences on the golden rule basis. My remark attracted the attention of one of the men, who turned to me with a look of surprise on his face and said, why you are a bright boy, and if you would go out and get a schooling, you would make your mark in the world." Those remarks fell on fertile ears, even though that was the first time anyone had ever told me that I was a bright or that I might accomplish anything worthwhile in life. The remark put me to thinking, and the more I allowed my mind to dwell upon that thought, the more certain I became that the remark had back of it a possibility. It might be truthful state that whatever service I am rendering the world and whatever good I accomplish should be credited to that offhand remark. Suggestions such as this are often powerful, and nonetheless, so when they are deliberate and self-expressed, go back now to the self-confidence formula and master it, for it will lead you into the powerhouse of your own mind, where you will tap a force that can be made to carry you to the very top of the ladder of success. Definitions and terms. Accurate self-analysis. This term means that one must take accurate inventory of one's ability. It means also the accurate inventory must be taken of temperament, native ability, or natural inclination. In brief, it means that a man must know his own goods before he can sell them to best advantage. Thoroughness. Briefly, this term means that one must form the habit of finishing all that one begins. Knowledge of self. One must know one's own faults and virtues in order to guard against the former while developing the latter. More specifically, however, this term means that one must understand one's inherent tendencies, those tendencies that are acquired through both physical and social hereditary. Courage. The meaning of this term is obvious. One must possess the spirit of fearlessness to face opposition of every nature whatsoever, and sufficient combativeness to master the ordinary obstacles that one is apt to meet in the struggle for the attainment of any definite purpose. A wise man will make more opportunities than he finds. Francis Bacon. So thank you all for tuning in. And next week I will be doing lesson 3. So please stay tuned. And I do recommend picking up this book and reaching out to some of the amazing. Hi Maxwell, how you doing? Gorgeous. I do appreciate, and do subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is the Osborne Way. I actually got it all set up. It took me a little while, but I figured it out. You all have an amazing Friday and amazing weekend. Stay safe. Know that you're blessed because you're here, and I'm grateful for every single one of you. So you all have an amazing day. If you ever need my help, please reach out, and I will see you on the next live. Toodaloo.